So, what happens when a 10-year-old menace cheats on an IQ test and gets sent to a school for gifted children? Bart the Genius is the second ever episode of The Simpsons and is the first to fully center on Bart's chaos, and is weirdly ambitious. This was the show testing its voice, its tone, and whether audiences were down to follow a cartoon kid who graffitied "Skinner sucks" and faked being a genius just to get out of doing math homework. This episode dropped on January 14th, 1990, and while it's not the most iconic of the season 1, it's got that raw, early Simpsons energy. You know, rough animation, slightly off models, and a whole lot of sarcasm. We start with a family game night that somehow turns into a vocabulary duel. Right away, the writers show us two things. 1, Bart's got zero interest in academics. And 2, Lisa's already a know-it-all. The script throws in a made-up board game called Scrabble, which might sound familiar because, yeah, it's literally just Scrabble. But this version includes Bart playing the word Quijibo, a fat, balding North American ape, which of course is Homer. This episode moves fast. Bart's failing school, he gets sent to take an IQ test, and instead of trying, he swaps tests with Martin Prince, the local brainiac and future class narc. Boom. Bart suddenly has a 216 IQ and ends up in a gifted school where the walls are painted green to avoid subliminal distractions. Yes, that's an actual line. But Bart doesn't fit in. Shocker. There's this weird tension throughout the episode. He's pretending to be someone he's not, and nobody's buying it. Even the smart kids are weirded out. One of them is building a perpetual motion machine and accuses Bart of slowing it down. The pacing is tight, and the jokes hit in this dry, early 90s satire kind of way. Not laugh out loud funny, but oddly charming. Now, this is only the second episode ever aired, and it shows. The animation's still finding its footing, everyone's a little off model, the backgrounds are flat, and Homer's voice is still very Walter Matthau. But what's interesting is how Bart the Genius sets up the series' tone. You've got satire, family dysfunction, and a main character who literally sprays graffiti in the opening scene. This is peak 90s anti-authority energy, even if the edges are still rough. Bart here isn't just mischievous, he's kind of a sociopath. He lies to everyone, fakes his IQ, gets into a fight with Lisa, and then finally breaks down in a bathtub full of green water. Yes, green. It's science water. Don't question it. Also worth noting, this episode introduces "Eat my shorts," which becomes one of Bart's most iconic catchphrases. You could argue this is the moment Bart officially becomes Bart, the slacker kid with a slingshot and too much confidence. Underneath all the pranks and fake IQ scores, Bart the Genius is actually about identity. Bart doesn't want to be smart, he just doesn't want to be treated like an idiot. There's this weird sadness in his performance. He wants to fit in, but not at the cost of who he is. When he finally confesses to cheating, it's not this big emotional moment, it's low-key, quiet, almost tragic in how anticlimactic it is. And that's kind of the beauty of early Simpsons writing. It lets characters feel real, even when the world is absurd. Also, side note, the principal's name is Seymour Skinner, and this is only his second appearance. But you can already tell he's going to be the straight man to Bart's chaos for years to come. Bart the Genius may not be the flashiest episode, but it's crucial in shaping the show's DNA. It's where we first see Bart as more than just a cartoon brat. It's where we realize The Simpsons isn't afraid to blend comedy with a little bit of existential dread. So that's The Simpsons, Season 1, Episode 2, Bart the Genius. It's got fake science, questionable parenting, and a 10-year-old faking his way into Mensa. If you're into vintage animation, early 90s satire, or just watching Bart do Bart things, this episode is worth the watch. And worth the rewatch. Drop a comment if you remember seeing this one on VHS or during a rerun binge, and hit subscribe for more Simpsons breakdowns from the golden and the gritty years of Springfield. Next up, we're diving into one of the strangest early episodes, Homer's Odyssey. You know, the one where Homer gets fired, spirals into an existential crisis, and somehow becomes a safety advocate? Yeah, it's wild. Definitely darker than you remember. But somehow it still holds up, and it's still hilarious. So stick around. This one's a trip.